The following program is intended for mature audiences.
TBS, America's #1 independent television network, presents the following sports exclusive.
You're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes.
And check out every episode of the show at basicallysports.tumblr.com.
Now here's your hosts, Zach,
Greg, Mike.
And you're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Last week I wore my Expos hat in honor of the Nationals, who were going to lose the World Series, if y'all remember.
Yes.
Tonight I'm wearing it in celebration of the Nationals being the 2019 World Champions. It's like our streak of predictions continues.
I forget about our timing sometimes, but you're right.
Yes. We don't have to go into it too much, but yeah, it was amazing. I mean, they did not win a home game and won the World Series.
The first series in North American pro sports history where the road team won all 7 games of a series.
Never happened in the NBA or hockey either?
No, I mean, we've had situations where teams have won all their home games.
Right. That's how the Twins, I think both World Series, they did that when they won their all 4 home games.
Yep, it's how the Mighty Ducks lost to the Devils in the 2003 Cup final. But never has a road team won every single game in the series. So
that's why I thought they were done. I just thought there's no way that this team can win all 4 games on the road and win the world. But they did it. And you know what? I got to say it again. Take your advanced metrics and shove them, because this team did it all on clutch hitting, period. You can call it what you want, but that's what it was.
Exactly. I think they were down in the majority of their games, or when they did score their runs, it was 7th inning and later.
Yeah.
Every time. And they stayed in the game because they're starting pitching.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Strasburg was, and Scherzer were just amazing. And, But yeah, so there you go. The Washington Nationals, despite our best efforts, are the world champions.
Congratulations to the Montreal Expos.
Right?
Actually, the Nationals can segue to something I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
But we'll save the football for later. So the Nationals today went to the White House.
Right.
And Kurt Suzuki, the catcher, while he was there, he wore his Make America Great Again hat and got embraced Titanic style by Donald Trump.
Donald Trump groped him from behind, which was creepy.
Yes. Kurt Suzuki had his arms out like Kate Winslet. Donald Trump grabbed him like Leo.
Oh, boy.
And there we were. But the Nationals and Trump is kind of where I wanted to go, because I think the big sports media story of the last week was Deadspin.
Yeah.
And what happened with the collapse of a great sports website. And it started, Game 5? Last Sunday, Trump goes to Game 5. He's roundly booed and given chance of lock him up, things of that nature. So, of course, Deadspin has already kind of run into this once before. So to get ahead of it, their new corporate overlords of GO Media, whatever that means, sent them a memo with the classic phrase, "stick to sports."
Right.
So Deadspin decidedly did not stick to sports in the next day.
Nor should they have.
One of their editors got fired immediately. So once that happened, they not only did they post this story about Donald Trump in the World Series, but they also posted stories about dogs they met last weekend ranked, and wedding etiquette, and favorite bears, and things of that nature, just to really drive home the point of, well, when people say stick to sports, you clearly mean just politics in that, but if you really mean stick to sports, we're gonna throw everything that we have ever done here at Deadspin, which they've covered a wide range of topics, and that led to many writers either being fired or resigning the next day in a show of solidarity.
Well, their whole staff resigned.
Deadspin knew it.
Yeah, was it their entire staff basically resigned on it was Thursday of last week, I think. I don't remember the exact day, but they all said, you know what, screw this. And the beauty of it is, and I don't know if you've read some of the articles by these replacement writers they've gotten, but I promise you my 11-year-old nephew could do a better job. and he doesn't even really follow sports. But they were, oh my God, I read one about the, I think it was maybe the Thursday night game or something. I don't remember. Maybe it was a World Series game. I don't remember what it was about exactly, but it was almost unreadable. It was so bad. It was just horrible. I thought, God almighty. But yeah, I mean, good for them. I'm glad they did it because they're all going to get picked up by somewhere else. If they were smart, they'd go out and redo Deadspin under a different name at a new website. And I mean, it would be tough at the beginning, but somebody out there would put the money into it because that thing was huge.
Yeah. And the thing with Deadspin was, like, yes, it was primarily a sports website, but the color of Deadspin, what made it so endearing was the attitude it took towards sports, as well as the colorful nature of everything else they posted. And yeah, it did get political at times, and your mileage will vary based on your leanings, but they also posted dumb shit about bears and catalogs and food recipes and
movies,
all this other stuff that was just an enjoyable read because you came to care about the personality of the writers that put the personality into the sports stuff. And then, I know who you are. Let me see what you think about this movie. Let me see what you think about cakes or whatever.
Yeah, and you know why? Because they were good writers. It didn't matter what they wrote about. They wrote if you can write well, you can cover anything. It doesn't have to be sports. I found the whole thing ridiculous, and the stick to sports thing was basically don't bash, don't be political, and in particular, don't bash the president. And that's just, come on, it's journalism. I mean, whatever it's worth to you, but you can't muzzle people like that. It's just not fair. I mean, the New York Times doesn't do it. And talking about, websites that are supposedly sports oriented that aren't, like, take a look at like Grantland or The Ringer. There are a lot of great sports writers on there, but they cover a whole lot more than sports. Yeah. And nobody seems to have a problem with that. So I don't know. The whole thing was ridiculous. And I'm absolutely in the writers' corners on this. It just, the whole thing was absurd. And
like, if you're this company that you bought Deadspin, and you bought Deadspin for its sports coverage alone, then you didn't know what you were buying.
No, because even their sports coverage wasn't typical sports coverage.
No.
I mean, every year you got Why Your Team Sucks, a 20 or 32 team preview of the NFL.
Which was fantastic.
Right, exactly. And the whole thing was just ridiculous. It's just... I mean, I don't want to be the alarmist, or all that, but free speech is getting pretty precarious in this country these days when it comes to writing and the people just getting destroyed on Twitter for making a joke or on social media for making a joke or saying something that was wrong, and they're just getting torn down, and it's got to stop. I mean,
my thing on this as somebody that is a writer.
Dog!
I know, he's very excitable.
He agreed with my point. He was like, tell him, Greg, that's right.
My thing with all this is that I can't believe in 2019 we're still doing the stick to sports mantra.
Right.
Like, we've been doing this for at so many different outlets for so many different years now. I mean, like I was saying, with Deadspin, this is at least the 5th time that they've had to deal with the stick to sports crap. And it's like, yes, sports is escapism. It's frivolity. It's not important. It's supposed to be fun. And in certain spaces, I understand. Like, if you go to the front page of ESPN.com and you're just looking for scores and whatever, I get the guy that's there just to read about sports and talk about sports. And occasionally there might be a feature story that will go outside those lines. But with ESPN, you're generally going to get sports. It's not ESPN's fault when the sport crosses into something bigger, like, say, the NFL anthem protest or even this NBA China stuff, which ESPN skirted aside, but that's not the point. With Deadspin never at any point made itself, we are a hard-hitting sports analysis website. That was never their case. Even when, like you said, even when they wrote about sports, it was through their very specific lens of not people that were getting access, not people that were beat writers, but just, fans on the internet writing about the sports like how you talk about sports with people.
That's the way
in sarcastic and cynical ways.
When I did a sports talk show for 2.5 years, everybody would say, why don't you have so-and-so on? Why don't you have so-and-so on? I'd say, because I'm not talking to that person if I'm sitting in a bar or having a conversation somewhere with someone, and I'm not going to do it here. I could have, but I didn't want to because I liked I just want sports fans talking about sports. I don't want to get into interviews and all that, you know, and that's what I liked about Deadspin. They did, you know, what they call it, sports without access or favor or something like that. Yeah. And I like that aspect of it, you know, and I like the, you know, just the edge they brought to everything and the unique perspective they had on everything. And here's another thing about the stick to sports mantra. No one's forcing anybody to click on articles they don't want to read.
Exactly. Can I say something on the stick to sports stuff?
Sure, absolutely. Go for it.
It's always a double standard.
Absolutely.
All right. I'm just gonna say, those people get angry when we cross out of the realm of sport. You should stick to sport. You wrote a bad thing about President Trump. You should just stick to sports. How many of them are upset that the catcher of the Washington Nationals wore a Make America Great Again cap?
None of them.
Stick to sports is always something that is deployed against people of a progressive persuasion when they attempt to use sports as something to highlight important issues to them. Mm-hmm. And you never, and I mean never, see it directed against conservatives. Show me. I'm challenging people. Show me a case where someone has had that where someone has said stick to sports to someone who goes to bat for conservative politics. It never happens.
I will say that Rush Limbaugh got fired at ESPN after one show because he went political. So
that wasn't a stick to sports thing, though.
No,
nobody said, "Oh, you need to stick to sports." That was specifically you said a racist. You said
right.
Damn racist.
But that's the example everyone's going to cite when you bring that up. Is what my point is. That's what they're going to say. But that's one instance I can think of in I don't know how many years.
And especially like right now, I think a sports story to follow has been the kind of hilarious journey being taken by President Trump right now, because it seems like he's been in the sports eye more than he has been in his entire presidency, really, in the last like week, because it seems like he's like continually poking around to find places that won't boo him. So he goes to the World Series, gets booed, and says, you know, and makes a face and whatever. And so he obviously doesn't want to go back to that crowd. He goes to the UFC fight in New York at Madison Square Garden.
And they boo him.
And they boo him.
Really?
So, yes.
Even that crowd booed him, huh?
Yeah.
Well, it was New York. It wasn't necessarily the UFC crowd.
Okay.
I'm sure he thought like, oh, UFC crowd, that's my people. But no, it was New York City, and they've always hated him.
He might want to try NASCAR next. I'm just saying.
Well, that's the thing, because it was revealed today that he's going to be at Alabama for the Bama LSU game this weekend.
So he is like literally looking for a sports crowd that will not boo him.
He might have found it with that game. He might have found it.
Exactly. And that's like, and if you're a sports columnist and you see this trend, like, it's something to write about.
Well, and not only that, but it is sports related. I mean, you can't get around that. Right. If the president is going to, if he's constantly going to sporting events trying to find one that won't boo him, how can that not be sports related? Granted, it's not box score related, it's not game related, but it's certainly sports related. And it just seems ridiculous to me. And Mike, I agree with you completely. But in the interest of fairness, I'm going to point out that most of the people that do all the taking people down and stuff that I was talking about earlier, that all comes from the left. That's like where they get their victories. Okay, if somebody says something they don't like, they come in with the whole, thing that they do, and they tear down people and they get people fired. Like, Roseanne Barr, for example, which what she said was stupid. I agree. I don't know that she should have gotten the backlash she got for it. I mean, maybe they could have toned it down just a hair, but that kind of stuff, or Al Franken, one of their own. They ate for lunch because of a stupid picture that clearly was a joke, but nobody could take the joke. And I'm not condoning what Al Franken did. In this day and age, you don't do that shit. But come on now. So I'm not like trying to make a false equivalency here. I'm saying that both sides have their issues, and
I would say that what you're talking about is specifically outrage culture,
right?
Which is I would say is its own thing.
Probably the worst byproduct of our internet age.
Yeah.
Oh, by far.
I mean, yeah, I would say that, that again, I'd say that's outrage culture, which is something that is entirely different. And if you want to have a discussion about that,
I agree. It is different. I agree, but
that's not the stick to sports argument. That's something.
No, not at all. Not at all. I guess I just don't want to give the impression that we're just on here bashing conservatives, because that's not our intent. But you make a very valid point that rare is the day that you see a conservative get smacked around for doing something that's not quote unquote that's not sticking to sports. That I agree with that completely. There was Rush Limbaugh, and nothing else ever happened after that I can think of. Now I could be wrong about that, but I just wanted to try to give, some sort of a counterweight so that no one's going, you guys are just a bunch of fucking liberals and then we get all the shit. I don't want that either. But so the whole thing is just absurd. You can't, this president wants people to cover him. You can't ignore it. You can't pretend like it's not happening, with the Colin Kaepernick stuff last year when he got involved. You can't pretend that's not going on.
Yeah. And even when it's not a political issue like that, when it is something silly, like him being booed, I guess even that's serious. But I'm thinking more like along the lines of when Clemson goes to the White House and he gives them burgers and pizza and whatever. It's like, how can you not see like the humor in that and report on it? And that's not even people. I mean, yes, to a degree, it's people ripping on a conservative president, but it's also just like, look at this idiot, look at this funny thing that happened, and
right.
It's just. In the fact that it happens to deal with a political figure, well, it is what it is. And now you have politicians that try to be seen at sporting events, and you have sports stars, athletes that are getting involved in political issues. So one way or another, whether it's coming from the political side or the sports side, they're crossing into one another all the time. And to stick to sports is being ignorant to the thing. I understand that you want your fun fantasy thing to happen over here and not interfere with the real world, but that's just the way it is.
You know what? I do
sometimes, but that's what it is.
I think that the whole ESPN thing. Remember when they got in all the trouble because they were supposedly so liberal? I mean, look, I try to be as fair-minded as I can about this stuff. I looked at it, I'm like, I don't see what they're talking about. I just don't get it. Yeah, Jamel Hill put out a couple of tweets, but things like that. But I mean, as a network as a whole, you're going to call them liberal? I would call them, milquetoast. They're nothing, other than a couple people here and there. And the whole thing is just everything's gotten so out of hand. It's like everybody just. I know that everybody wants to keep shouting louder because that's the thing, but really, we all need to do. It's just calm down a little bit. And I'm talking like everybody. Let's just take a step back and take a breath and go, okay, hold on a minute here. Is it really as bad as we think it is? And maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but it wouldn't be the worst idea to just sit back and take a second to, maybe think before we all start shouting. And I don't mean us as in us three, but as in people in general. And maybe that wouldn't be the worst thing. Maybe think before you tell somebody to die on Twitter, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, what good is that doing?
And I think something we can all agree on too is part of the reason why our show is called what it is because we didn't just want to be
right
the X's and O's hour.
No,
nobody would care.
We did that for 6 years with the football show. That was the X's and O's hour. And
we talk about there will be odd times when we'll just talk about something completely not. Has nothing to do with sports. But,
right. And we got a new Star Wars movie coming out here in a month, so you can bet your ass there's going to be a whole show dedicated to that.
I've been holding my tongue on something particularly Star Wars related. It's been going on.
I've seen it, Mike.
No, but also completely unrelated to Star Wars. I've wanted to because I thought Zach, you and I had an interesting. In a good way, back and forth on the boards about Joker, and I wanted to talk, and I've been trying to find ways to talk about that, but
just throw it in there, man.
But no, I mean, just simply put, like their shit where we're just like, hey, let's talk about something else. And
we've done hours of stuff that's not at all sports related, and I've never once heard anybody say stick to sports. Even when we get political like this, no one ever gets mad about it because I think we're pretty fair. What wrong is wrong. I don't care which side did it. It's as simple as that. And I think that's the way we call it as we see it. If you don't like that, I'm sorry. Yeah. If you want an echo chamber, there are plenty of other podcasts out there to go get that from. You're not going to get it here. I'm sorry. I'm a registered Democrat, but I will call it the left faster than anybody. Yeah. And that's just the way it goes.
I think the last thing that I want to put on it is in kind of like my big statement on the whole thing is just that, as I said before, we know that sports on the whole are not important. They're fun, they're escapism, they're entertainment. And because it's somebody that is people that I work with or people that I interact with or work with or me or that I went to school with or any of that stuff, when we're all journalists, I choose covering sports over politics because I know in the long run it's going to be more fun and I'm not going to have to get into this serious life and death debate. But we're all people. And because we're all just regular humans living in this society with everybody else, we know that, sometimes sports isn't important and we want to say something about something that is important. And I don't think anybody, especially in this country, should be stopped from talking about important issues. Mm-hmm. Even if your primary job is to be a sports reporter. Here's the thing too. If I'm the beat reporter for the Ducks, let's say, I'm going to cover in my articles about the Ducks, they're going to be about transactions. They're going to be about the game. They're going to be about the players, things like that. But that still shouldn't stop me from being able to put my opinions out there about what, elsewhere, not in my notebook about what happened at practice. Right. I'm not going to tell you what I think about what the president did, but in a separate channel, there's no reason for somebody to not do that.
Exactly.
And so Deadspin was able to do it all in one place. But still, the fact that people get mad at writers on Twitter or whatever you have, we're all humans in this society and everything. We're all affected by the ongoings like that too. So, free speech in this country is a beautiful thing, and anything that is done to not even legislate it, but just kind of guide it in some way,
hamper it,
that ideal, is bad.
I'll just say that again, I can't stress this enough. If you don't want to read it, don't click on it. I don't know how much simpler I can make that. With Deadspin, that's an easy choice to make. Now, granted, if a TV show, if ESPN really were political and you were watching it, you don't have much choice. You can turn the channel, but you lose the sports coverage with that. Or I guess you can go to Fox Sports or whatever. But the point being that no one's forcing anyone to read anything that you don't want to read, which is kind of unfortunate in a way because that way you're not getting both sides of every argument because you just want to hear your own ideology.
Well, that is a whole other problem.
Right.
In our world today is that people it's thanks to the fact that every political position seems to have its own dedicated news network and the fact that algorithms are what they are.
Right.
You don't have to encounter an opposing viewpoint if you don't want to, and that leads to everyone getting angrier because you've been told that you're right all the time.
Yeah,
and that turns out and then when you come across someone with a different opinion, you just get unreasonably angry about it.
Right. Well, God knows, Mike, we've seen enough of it on the boards. Mm-hmm. Over the years. We had to just make a complete across-the-board no politics ban, period, because they couldn't discuss it reasonably. And I say they like I was some innocent bystander in the whole thing, but we couldn't do it responsibly, so it had to go. And that's not free speech, so that's Chris's forum. And that's a whole different thing.
That was actually his mandate, by the way. So to everyone on the CCSLC who's upset that we can't talk about Native American logos or politics in general, that's Chris because you all disappointed him and he decided that you can't have nice things. So
that's how he makes his living. And that forum is not what people are like, it's free speech. They're like, not here. This is a place where there are.
That's not the government. That's Chris's fiefdom.
Right.
He can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, and as we have told, I don't know how many people over the years, when we were both moderators and we both weren't, if you want to talk about this stuff, there are a million other places you can go do it. You don't need to do it here. But anyway, the whole thing is just ridiculous. I agree, and it's sad. It just bothers me. It's like this is not the America I grew up in, where things like this were even an issue. So, sticking to sports.
The National League of Footballs.
Oh, God, I don't even want to talk about it. I don't even I hate football.
No,
I hate sports.
We're going to go straight to it. Basketball, Packers at Chargers. I didn't watch this game, but I saw it at halftime. It was 9-0 Chargers, what seemed like just the most entertaining football that could have been played. Boys, discuss.
What?
What do you want me to say? Congratulations, Mike. Way to go. You beat the Packers and like 35,000 of their fans, so I don't know what else to say about that.
Well, I feel so sorry for all of them that made it down to L.A. for the game.
I don't feel a bit bad for them. It's like sometimes you get, you know what? I love the fact that these teams travel well, but I'm not a big fan of that, like going en masse to a place. I get it, but I think they got what they deserve, sort of.
I mean, this is actually the Chargers' first ever home win against the Packers in team history.
Really?
It's the first time the Chargers have ever beat the Packers at home.
Wow. You would think that back in the 80s when the Chargers were really good and the Packers were terrible, it would have happened at some point.
Yeah, but did the conferences play each other as much back then?
Yeah, pretty much the same setup with the played like rotating divisions every year and all that. Maybe not as much. I don't know. I mean, there were less teams back then, obviously, so probably more actually. But you would just think that it's just weird to me that in all that time they probably didn't play each other a lot. So I don't know what the actual record is, but you would think that with the Dan Fouts Chargers and Air Coryell and all that, and the Packers being like 5-11 every year, that they would have met up once in San Diego and gotten the shit kicked out of them. But I guess not.
No.
Well, did anybody see the game? I didn't. I was hoping it would be on here, but it wasn't.
I wasn't able to catch it outside of a few highlights, but the Chargers, it just looks like they did a good job shutting down Aaron Rodgers.
Which is not an easy thing to do, but
to illustrate what the Packers did on Sunday, there was a stunt that the NBC or the CBS broadcast team pulled, which for some reason Nance and Romo were on this game. But at halftime, they went down to the field and broadcast the third quarter walking up and down the sidelines with like portable monitors. And then for the fourth quarter, they went back into the booth and they showed a graphic that in that time, Jim Nance and Tony Romo had walked 60 yards up and down the field. And the Packers only had 52 yards of offense at that point. So they did. It's hard to tell whether they did that for like the stunt of going down on the field or for the graphic to be made that they walked more than the Packers did in that game. But
well, you play like shit. That's what you deserve.
Yeah,
I'm not too worried. I mean, they're still 7-2, but I had this one marked down as a win. I really thought they'd have no trouble with the Chargers. But these Chargers, I don't know what to make of them. The minute you think they're done, here they come. They're right back in it.
I mean, look, Phillip Rivers gets angered easily, so you don't want to motivate him.
Well, I don't know what to say about it.
He's got 15 mouths to feed. So
yeah. What was I heard on the Bill Simmons podcast today? They did a thing where like, okay, Matthew Stafford or Phillip Rivers, which one do you hug? And I think Cousin Sal said Phillip Rivers, and Bill Simmons goes, "You might get pregnant if you do that," which I thought was pretty funny because he's got so many kids and all that. But no, the Chargers kicked their asses. I don't know what else to say about it. It's one of those you just go, okay.
I mean. You made a joke, Zach, that at 9-0 it just seemed like exciting football. You have no idea how exciting it actually is to see the Chargers successfully kick field goals. All right.
Well, the first score I saw from this game, it was 26-3 Chargers. I thought, oh my God, is Aaron Rodgers hurt? Was my first thought, and nope. They just whipped their butts. I don't know how else to put it. It's just good game by the Chargers, and I think didn't the Vikings lose yesterday too? So I'm not too worried about it.
The Vikings did lose in a barn burner. It was actually a really close game.
Yeah, that one I was able to watch. But now that I know CBS had this game, now I know why it wasn't on. I thought it would be a Fox game because the Packers are the visiting team, and they would show it. And I guess not.
Now with the Thursday games and stuff like that, there are occasional games that go outside the traditional rules of the networks.
So anyway, real quick on the Chargers before we move on from this. So they're at 4-5 now. Are they still a playoff team or not, guys?
They're in the hunt.
Hey, we all know about in the hunt. Yeah.
They made it into the in the hunt graphic.
Mike, you are becoming more and more like a Browns fan every day. I'm just telling you.
I was gonna say the Chargers made it into the in the hunt graphic. That's more than we can say for the Browns. The Browns aren't in the in the hunt graphic.
The best thing I saw about that Browns game yesterday was somebody put out a meme that said, "Leave Freddie Kitchens in Denver." And sounds good to me.
So somebody on the Browns is going to have, or somebody in the NFL is going to have to explain why the Broncos at home in their orange and white pants or orange jersey, white pants were allowed to play, or the Browns were allowed to wear their color rush all brown uniforms against the Broncos.
Yeah, it was a color on color game that just popped up out of nowhere. And like I said when we were texting earlier, it was the ugliest possible version of a color-on-color game, but at least the NFL allowed it.
It was weird. Like, I hadn't thought about it, and then I saw a picture of it on Twitter, and I just, what was going on? I can't believe I saw that.
It was horrible. It was an eyesore, but it was color-on-color. But I think, guys, the team that we have to talk about, that we aren't allowed to talk about until they lose or win by less than 20, the New England Patriots and Baltimore Ravens last night.
Yeah, 37-20, Ravens over Pats. First loss of the season for the Patriots. I don't know what to make of it. The Ravens are a very strange team because they've come off back-to-back wins now over Seattle on the road and beating the Patriots for the Patriots' first loss. Like those are two impressive wins.
And my second favorite thing about the Browns game was somebody from the Browns backers group that I used to belong to when I lived in New York said, so since the Browns beat the Ravens and the Ravens beat the Patriots, that makes the Browns the best team in the league, right? I went, oh, yeah, that's right, sure.
God.
But, I'm not even worried about the Patriots. This is just, as I said on the boards, I'll say it here. It was one game. It doesn't mean a thing come January. And the Pats are still the best team in the league as far as I'm concerned. I want to, everybody's like, well, look what happened, this and that. They gave up 37 points. The greatest defense I've ever seen in my life, the 85 Bears, got smoked on a Monday night by Dan Marino and the Dolphins. They just gave up, it was like 38 points, I think. I don't remember the exact score, but it was a lot. And that was a Bears team that was, was scoring more points than most teams were, against on defense than most teams, offenses were scoring. So this is just, it's an aberration is all it is. So, Mike, don't worry. I'm not about to do a they're done speech or anything like that.
Yeah, I was concerned that you were going to bury the Patriots and then you'd spur Tom Brady onto another Super Bowl.
No, and I thought a friend of the show, McCarthy, brought up an interest. It was actually Brass, I think, from the boards that brought it up, that he thought that once the Patriots knew they weren't going to win, Belichick just said, okay, we're going to do a simple base defense, and I'm not going to show them anything else. And I thought, you know what? That evil genius is probably doing exactly that. Where, it's a tactical advantage because like everybody was saying in that thread, Belichick isn't concerned about losing a game in the first week of November. He's always playing the long game. And I thought that, I would be a bit surprised if he just said, you know what, we're going to lose. I'm not putting any more complex defensive schemes out there for the rest of the game. We're going to just play it straight and let them do what they want. And I would not be a bit surprised if that's exactly what he did.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not even worried about him. They can't do this to them twice. I know that because if anybody out there believes that the Ravens have somehow hit on the combination on how to beat the Patriots, you're out of your mind. They can't do it twice in one season because nobody can. So don't worry. I'm not at all going to bury the Patriots. I think they're still amazing and they're champions until somebody else beats them and in the playoffs. And until then, sorry. I don't care what they do the rest of the way.
And really, it was kind of a tight game. All things considered, and just based on the stats, it's not like it was a crazy Lamar Jackson game necessarily. Yeah, he ran 61 yards, 2 touchdowns, but he only threw for 163 and a touchdown. Overall, I think the Ravens had maybe 400 yards of offense, which sounds good, but I think this says more about the Ravens defense, because the Ravens went up 17-0, and that was where the game was established. The Patriots came back to cut it within 4, and then the Ravens closed out the game in the third and fourth quarters. But again, like you said, I don't think this is a big thing for the Patriots. They'll be fine. But I'm impressed by what the Ravens have done 2 weeks in a row now. Going to Seattle game to win, beating the Patriots, and coming back, because after they lost to the Browns, we all thought that, they lost the crucial game. Maybe they aren't what we thought they were. They're playing a bunch of crappy teams, and they're just not the team that was going to take the jump, and this is the Browns division. And then the last 5 weeks happened.
I can't believe anybody actually thought that, but we did.
We did for a quick second, yeah.
I'm with you with the Browns. Just fold the franchise. We'll try it again in 5 years.
Speaking of the Browns, I just want to share this with everyone, because Gardner Minshew – no, not Gardner Minshew. Sorry, his doppelganger, Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield's post-game mustache.
Oh yes.
Well,
I'll share this with you guys.
Yeah, no. Did I send you the one I saw?
Well, let me explain really quick. Baker Mayfield started the game with a full beard. Came out for pregame warm-ups with a Fu Manchu mustache, and for the post-game press conference was down to just a regular porn star mustache. So essentially, the guy shaved twice yesterday.
Yeah,
while also playing a game of NFL football. I don't even understand what the hell was going on with that.
The picture I saw was it was the Baker Mayfield shot with the trench coat and the mustache, and the caption was Baker Mayfield looks like a detective that's out of Leeds.
Yes.
I like let's see, SB Nation has a list of great ones. Baker Mayfield looks like your dad who went out for cigarettes and never came back. The undercover cop who infiltrated the gang, but now people are worried he's in too deep. The leader of the Cleveland Electricians Union. Oh, this is my favorite. The brother in a boxing movie who leads his sibling astray. A human in an alien suit trying to fit in.
Okay. Professional
lottery player.
Yeah.
Man whose girlfriend is Siri. The medic in every World War II movie who wasn't prepared for the horrors of war.
God.
And it just keeps going on. But number 22 is Cleveland Browns quarterback.
This team, oh my God, what an absolute disaster.
Yeah. Greg, do you happen to remember what their record was through 8 games last year?
I don't know. No.
They were 2-5-1.
Oh, so not a whole lot better.
Right. So they're worse this year by a half game.
But you see, the thing is that after the Patriots game, everyone was saying, it's back half of the schedule is going to be easier. And then they go up against a Broncos team that already sucked and was playing their backup, and the Broncos beat them.
That dude looked like he'd been playing the starting quarterback for that team all season, the way he shredded the Browns up yesterday.
No. Joe, that was his first start.
I know.
Brandon out.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say at this point. I'm going to stand by my belief that if they had hired Greg Williams for all of his faults, they wouldn't be in this position. But Freddie Kitchens is a bad coach who is also stupid. I'm not even going to give him the benefit of being a good coach who's stupid anymore. He's just a bad coach who's a fucking moron. I don't know how else to put it.
This is the question I have to ask again then. Do the Browns go one and done with Freddie Kitchens?
Yes.
Do they fire him?
Yes, they absolutely do. Yeah, you can't.
I think they have to.
I mean, even last year when they were 2-5-1, you saw potential. You saw signs okay, you could see that there was something happening there that Hugh Jackson couldn't tap into. And when Greg Williams took over, all of a sudden that's where the whole Super Bowl train got started, was when he was coaching the team, because they played disciplined, good football. And now It's a clown show. It's ridiculous. I don't even know what to say. I don't want to get bogged down with these idiots again this week. So let's move to a different game. But yeah,
well, let's
fold the franchise. We'll try again in 5 years with better uniforms. There you go.
Let's go to a different group of idiots. The Miami Dolphins.
Really? I think the Jets might take the cake on being idiots.
Well, yes. I don't know how anybody lost to this Dolphins team, let alone the Jets, who were supposed to be. Yeah, they beat the Cowboys and they had a crappy week, but they were going to bounce back because they're healthy and all that. But it seems like the Jets have more. The problem that the Jets have is continued dysfunction.
It's Adam Gase.
Well, I'll tell you how
I don't even think it's Adam Gase. I think it's even above him because there was all this garbage coming out around the trade deadline of who was being traded, who wasn't traded. They were supposedly trying to trade Jamal Adams, and he's like, what the hell? I don't want to be traded. I want to stay here. This is like where I want to play, despite all the negative things about the franchise. And it just seems that the Jets, for all the positive things they might have done, in getting things squared away over the last year, still the Jets. Just like the Browns, despite all the positive things they've done, are still the Browns.
Well, the thing about it is, why when you mentioned, how do you lose this Dolphins team? It's easy. You lose the Dolphins team when you're coached by the guy who the Dolphins fired.
Yep.
So I don't know what else to say other than how did this team manage to beat the Cowboys, the Jets? Because
that's their one win, right?
Yeah.
Who knows? I think I heard that the Dolphins went from first in the draft order to fifth with this game, and the Jets moved to third or something like this.
No, they screwed up their tank. God, what are you doing?
Yeah. Well, see, now there's only one team standing between, the Detroit Lions and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers from popping the champagne. It's the Cleveland or the Cincinnati Bengals, 0-8.
Yeah.
Cincinnati Bengals are the last.
The last team standing. I mean, the 72 Dolphins are still got their champagne on ice with the 49ers, but the 16 Browns, the 2012 Lions or whatever it is,
right. 2008 Lions.
2008 Lions.
Was that long ago?
They're still waiting to.
Yeah.
They still got their. I guess they wouldn't pop champagne. What their natty ice.
Yeah, right.
Well, like you were saying, Greg, you were holding out hope that one team would go 0-16 just so the Browns weren't the most recent team to do it.
Right.
And I mean, who knows? It might be the team that they were able to pawn Hugh Jackson off on.
How great would that be?
The Bengals run to infamy. They got the Ravens this next week. Probably a loss.
Yeah.
They're at the Raiders.
That's a loss. The Raiders have been playing competently this year.
I don't know what I don't understand that at all. I don't get it, but okay.
Home against the Steelers?
No, Steelers are back. They're going to be fine.
But here's our real problem, guys.
Mm.
Of their final 5 games of the season, they play the Jets, Browns, Dolphins, and Browns.
Oh, they'll win 2 of those easy. 2 of them.
That is an atrocious stretch of football.
Yeah.
Surrounded by the Patriots. So they've got 2 Jets, Browns, Patriots, Dolphins, Browns. That's how their season. That's the last 5 games of their season.
I would not be a bit surprised. Everybody's like, "Oh, the back end of the schedule's easy." Not anymore. I look at that. I go, well, now that Miami's won, I go, all right. So show me the easy win for the rest of the regular season for the Browns.
That's the Bengals.
Maybe.
No, this is the Bengals schedule.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. When it comes to closing things out.
But the Bengals will win one of those games against the Browns. I don't know which one it'll be, but they will win one.
Yeah, between the Dolphins, Jets, and 2 Browns games, you got to win one of those.
Yeah, I say they win 2, maybe even 3 of those because they've shown they can play people tough. But
I am just disappointed, though. I'm disappointed that we were on track for a Dolphins Bengals.
Oh my God, because that's let me pull their schedule again.
That was the ultimate tank bowl.
That's week 15 or week 16.
Yeah.
Oh man, they would have 0-15 both teams. Oh, that would have been awesome.
Yeah.
You know what would have been the best thing ever is that they tied.
That's the shit you flex into the national game. Like, come on.
Yeah, right? We're going to show you the worst possible football we can show you.
Oh, I would love it.
I'd watch that.
Yeah, what the hell?
Nothing like watching a bunch of people shoot themselves in the foot, right?
No, I mean, well, I think now we know what the first game in London is next year. It's Dolphins-Bengals. I mean,
right.
What better way to grow the game of football overseas than to give them just the very best?
Speaking of those London games, are we finally done with them for this year?
I think we are.
I think this was the last one this week. Yeah,
for God's sake. Oh, enough already
Texans
with this.
6, Jaguars 3.
Enough already.
Barn burner. The Seahawks.
Deshaun Watson had a great post-game press interview, actually.
Oh, with the Popeye's chicken healing his eye?
He thanked his performance on the spicy Popeye's chicken, which is bad.
Yeah, he healed his eye or whatever.
Yeah.
How about the guy in the introductions last night in the Sunday night game from the Ravens that said "Body by Taco Bell"? I forget his name.
Oh, yeah.
That was pretty good, too.
Are these players getting under-the-table endorsements?
I don't know. Maybe.
Work into their interviews?
Maybe.
I think a big win was the Seahawks, not losing to the Buccaneers, who have been strangely pesky this year.
I watched that Bucs game. They held it together, and I was worried because Jameis Winston was actually playing competently, but then everything felt right again when the Bucs on a potential go-ahead drive, Jameis fumbled it, and I was like, there you go.
But yeah, the Seahawks they lost to the Ravens at home. They gave up a lot of points to the Buccaneers. I think they gave up a lot of points to the Ravens too, if I remember right. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, if they're not invincible at home, you got to kind of wonder. But they are 7-2. You got to give them that, I guess. I don't know what to make of that team. I mean, they play close games that shouldn't be close. They lose games they probably shouldn't lose. But they're still 7-2.
That was a game that, as I was like keeping track of the score because I was out, but it's like that I could, as a Rams fan, I could really use that loss.
Yeah,
really that loss. But
you put your faith in Jameis Winston, and that's a mistake.
The last at some point I looked, they were up by 2 scores, and I said, "Oh
no, yeah,
damn.
the Bucs were up by 14 at the end of the near the end of the first quarter." But
who does Seattle play next week?
Let me tell you,
because that had trap game written all over it.
They play the Niners next week.
There you go.
Night.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's why they gave up 34 to Tampa Bay. They were looking right past them, I think.
Yeah, that's a huge game at the Niners on Monday Night Football. Yeah.
Yep.
Speaking of the Niners, they played Thursday night. Man, the Niners are getting 9 days off in between games.
Something like that.
Damn near an extra bye week.
Yeah.
They outlast the Cardinals on Halloween, which
that was weird. The Cardinals.
The Cardinals are pesky all of a sudden too now.
They are.
But Emmanuel Sanders is the best game of his career. So
yeah. I mean, just as we all predicted, right? The Niners, the last undefeated team standing.
Right. Exactly. We all had them undefeated. And is anybody? No one is seriously talking. Go ahead, Mike.
I was just going to say, do you think the fact that Jimmy Garoppolo is currently undefeated has Tom Brady desperately looking for even more ways to reverse the aging process?
I think we were talking about this in the football thread too, about can Brady keep playing until 45 or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
I think he can, but I don't think he can start. I think if he or it was later than 45, it was after that, 7 more years or something. And I said, yeah, if he went the George Blanda route and became a backup, the old sage backup, I think he could go as long as he wanted to. But
he's from San Francisco. He's from the Bay Area.
Yeah. Oh, wouldn't that be the irony?
Yeah, be Garoppolo's backup.
Brady can't. Look, it was bad enough when Montana left the 49ers. Brady can't do that. He's got to stay with the Patriots his whole career, right?
Tom Brady in another uniform would look like just weird.
Like Joe Namath in a Rams uniform or Johnny Unitas
in a Chargers.
I mean, come on.
The weirdest one for me, because like this is the one that like actually occurred in my fandom, was when Emmitt Smith went to the Cardinals.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
The one that sticks out to me is Jerry Rice as a Seahawk.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Especially because it was in like the newer, not these current ones, but the a modern-esque Seahawk uniform. When it's like
old guys never look good in newer styles. Like Brett Favre looked weird in that like piping and old Vikings uniform.
Same with Peyton Manning on the Broncos. It's just it's odd.
I mean,
nothing will ever look as great as Chris Chelios in that Atlanta Thrashers alternate. Like that
really is a work of art.
That screamed 45-year-old dressed up like his teenage son in a sad attempt to fit in, like that.
Right.
The Bills are 6-2, guys.
Look out!
I mean, they're 6-2, but who have they beaten? Like, who's good?
Redskins.
Nobody. They haven't beaten anybody, but they don't have to. That's their schedule this year.
I know, because they ran they ran the Nate Peterman train last year to the point that they created their season, and now they get like the softest schedule in the league, and they're 6-2.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what their remaining schedule looks like.
The real teams they've played are the Eagles and the Patriots. They lost both
games. Yeah, sure.
Guess what? And it gets even better because they play the Browns, Dolphins, Broncos the next 3 games.
Oh
right.
God, they're gonna be 9-2. You know who I feel sorry for? I feel sorry for the honest to God, like the legitimate Bills fans who are gonna go into the playoffs with so much hope.
Yeah, go ahead.
And it's just gonna end poorly.
I think that Bills fans are pretty smart, and I think they know that this team's got not much of a shot.
The Bills Mafia.
Well, I'm not talking about that's like saying that the dog pound represents all Browns fans. That's not fair.
Okay.
I think Bills fans are for the overall, not the ones that jump on tables and shit and do all the idiotic stuff that we see on YouTube. I'm talking about your average run-of-the-mill Bills fans, a pretty educated fan, and I think they know that this team's got virtually no shot in the playoffs. I mean, they've always got a puncher's chance. Everybody does, but short of them getting like a home field game and it being one of those crazy Buffalo blizzards, I don't see them beating anybody. But we talked about it at the beginning of the season. We looked at the schedule. We're like, these guys are going to be like 8-2, and we're going to be sitting here going, "What the hell happened?" And we're heading fast in that direction.
Yeah, they're gonna go 9-2, and then let's see what.
And then lose 5 in a row, be 9-7, and barely make it.
Yeah, then it goes Cowboys, Ravens, Steelers, Patriots, and they finish up at the Jets. So,
at least they get to end on a good note. They'll beat the Jets.
They could go 10-6 pretty easy, I think.
They could go 10-6. I mean, maybe they squeak out one of those against probably the Steelers would be the team I'd pick, but yeah, maybe 11, but probably 10.
Yeah,
that's what I would pick for right now.
Well, they're going to lose a stupid one in there too because they always do. Because this is the Bills we're talking about. They'll be 6-2 and go out and fall flat on their faces against like the Browns will probably hang 50 points on them, and it'll be like you shouldn't have been. That should have never happened, but it did. And that's why you're struggling after a 6-2 start to make the playoffs in week 14. Because you lost a stupid game to a team that really should give its 2 wins back, if you ask me. But you can't do that, so you just got to put up with what you got to put up with.
Panthers get a solid win over the Titans. They're 5-3. They're in the hunt, as it were, but I wouldn't just because of how deep the NFC is. The Panthers aren't. I don't think the Panthers are a threat to anything because they're not going to catch the Saints in the division, and I just don't think that they have the guns for a wild card bid.
Probably not.
The Chiefs outlast the Vikings at the buzzer with a game-winning field goal. Both teams are 6-3 now. Do you feel any different about either of those teams after that game?
No.
Not really.
I
6-3.
I think the Vikings. I think I talked about it last week. They're great indoors, not so hot outside. I mean,
seriously, they did like a record. Like Kirk Cousins has a pretty bad record this year outside.
Yeah.
But I mean, the thing about it is the reason why I wouldn't say anything's changed is because with the Vikings, it's like you're always looking like when is Kirk Cousins going to regress because he's been hot for a few weeks now. And so it's like, is he going to regress? And, the Vikings lost the game, but it wasn't because of Kirk Cousins. He threw 3 touchdowns. So they just came up against a better team. But I think both teams are pretty much what I thought they'd be going in. I'm kind of pissed off that the Chiefs won because I still have it in my mind that the Chargers can catch them in the division, and that would have helped. But
well, you gotta jump the Raiders first, Mike. So
you know what? God damn it!
The Raiders who beat the Lions yesterday.
The Raiders are playing surprisingly competent football.
Yeah.
4-4.
Uh-huh.
They're 4-4. They probably, they had at least I want to say at least 2 of those losses were close. So, I don't think the Raiders are going to be a playoff team, but they are far better than I thought they'd be.
Oh, yeah. I think we took a real big swing and miss on the Raiders this year because we were like, man, they'll win 4 games if they're lucky. Well, they've already gotten there. Now, they might not win another one the rest of the way, but I doubt it.
They're not out to fulfill dreams. They're out to haunt nightmares.
That's right, so. And that's what they're doing. They're creating a nightmare for our predictions. That much is certain.
Look, maybe there is maybe John Gruden's a secret genius. I don't know.
I'll tell you what, man.
I think they've got a. I don't know what the hell they're doing. I don't know. I don't get it.
People they just believe, Greg. That's what happened. Gruden was right. They just had to believe hard enough and want it hard enough.
You know what? Maybe. I can't think of anything else, so that's as good a reason as any, I suppose.
Yeah, they're just annoying. The Eagles pull out a win over the Bears, 22-14.
Told you the Bears were good.
5-4 Eagles.
Yeah.
Hanging around. They're at least hanging around in the NFC East. Again, I don't think they can get into a wild card, but they'd have to top the Cowboys the next time they play them and not lay an egg like they did the first time.
I think that what the Eagles really need is for Alias Smith and Jones to beat the Cowboys tonight, which probably isn't going to happen. But the Eagles are in the hunt, but I can't. I mean, they had a good road win, sort of, I guess, against Buffalo. It's a tough place to play, but what have they done this year that's impressive? Well, they beat the Packers.
Nothing.
No, they beat the Packers.
Oh yeah, that was a nice game. That's right.
Okay, so there's that. Was that at home or on the road?
That was on the road, but it was a Thursday night.
Oh well, I never know what to make of those Thursday night games. Speaking of that, though, Mike. Speaking of the Chargers and the Raiders, that's who plays this Thursday.
Yeah, I know. I saw the stupid Thursday night football commercial for it. I hate those things.
Those are so bad.
They're really so bad. Can't we just cancel Thursday night football, or at the very least make every week on Thursday Titans Jaguars, so we all know to avoid it?
Make the Titans and Jaguars play their whole schedule on Thursday nights. There you go. Solves the problem.
That's what I meant. That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Or they can alternate weeks between the Jags and the Titans every other week. One's one or the other. God.
It would make the most sense, really.
I don't. It used to be like it was for a few years where they would have every once in a while a Thursday night game, way back in the old days.
Yeah.
And then they didn't do them at all except Thanksgiving, and then they started popping up again, and all of a sudden here we are with a Thursday night game every week, and in a league that's supposedly concerned about player safety, but you're making them play on 3 days rest.
By the way, you mentioned the Giants-Cowboys game tonight. I gotta say, it's a good-looking game.
Oh, man, it looks great. And you know what? The Giants just intercepted a pass from Dak Prescott.
You got the Cowboys in their blues, and you got the Giants in their throwbacks.
Yep.
I'm really happy that the that the Cowboys are wearing their blue uniforms more often this year.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's never at home. It's just because of what the other team does to them. But
God, that was Baker Mayfield-esque there, Dak Prescott.
You're very ahead of me. Let's see what's going on next. Oh, this one I can't really wrap my head around either. The Steelers outlast the Colts 26-24.
Adam Vinatieri shanked a field goal attempt.
Oh, my God. He has been so bad this year.
Missed 5 extra points and 5 field goals this year. And Colts coach Frank Reich keeps saying that that is a bad interception. he keeps saying every time this happens that no, he's still behind him. He's still our guy. Adam Vinatieri was literally going to self-retire a couple weeks ago.
Well, the thing about it that's weird is that last week he beat the Broncos on a last-second field goal that I think was over 45 yards. So it's like, what the hell?
Well, he's but going to give you an example of the Brady thing. I mean, Vinatieri is 45 years old. He can still do it once in a while. He just can't do it consistently anymore, and that's the key. That's why Brady will not be able to play until he's 45 as a starter. Now, he could be a backup probably, but as a starter, you're going to get inconsistent at that age. Just what happens. And I know that Brady's got the TB12 program and all that other bullshit.
He's cut out strawberries, Greg.
Yeah,
Come on.
well, I don't care, man. You can't beat Father Time. It's as simple as that. But
he will, because he's filtering out all of the toxins.
And strawberries, yeah, with those nasty, foul things.
If he wasn't Adam Vinatieri, he'd be done.
Oh, God, he'd have been cut weeks ago.
Yeah.
But he's a Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Fame kicker, so they're going to,
Exactly.
Did you know that, for $147, you can buy the TB12 Wellness Bundle, which includes a multivitamin pack, a probiotic pack, a pill jar that just says Focus, omega-3 pills, and vitamin D.
How much?
$147.
Well, those Focus pills must be something else, because the rest of that stuff you can get for like $12 at the Walmart. Come on.
There you go. There you go. Look at this. One of the pill bottles just says Focus. I don't know what's in it. It's just
that's the one that's costing all the money. It's probably got
God, what is that? The college kids when they study what's the drug?
Adderall. Yeah, that's Adderall.
Okay.
Steroid-laced Adderall with human growth hormone thrown in just for fun.
For $48, you can get official Tom Brady approved chocolate that's infused with plant-based protein.
Can't I just buy a Snickers bar for $1.29 or whatever they cost?
Mike, can you find me I Kiss the Son of My Mouth bundle? Is that in there? No? All right.
Oh, man.
Well, I am going to be perusing this store because I have a feeling that it's going to be like Comedy Go.
Do you think anybody buys this shit, really?
Oh yeah, man.
Wow. Yeah. I'm sorry, but
price.
$147. Like, that thing better be laced with Adderall and steroids and human growth hormone.
$150?
There's no way.
You get 10 bottles of TB12 branded electrolytes.
Isn't that just filtered Gatorade?
Right?
Yeah.
Give me I'll go to Walmart, I'll buy a bottle of Gatorade, some Flintstone vitamins, and a Snickers bar, and I'm good to go. It's like $8. See ya. No, sorry.
For a scant $35, you get the water bottle with the TB12 logo.
Yeah, I'll pass on that too. Thanks. It helps when you're playing for one of the best coaches of all time. So I don't know how much this shit has to do with the success, but hey, whatever. You're not eating strawberries and you're loading up on. Do you think he actually takes this stuff?
I legitimately hope so, because I want to imagine after losing to the Ravens, Tom Brady stormed into the locker room and was like, "I need my Focus pills."
He was like, "Fuck this Focus, it doesn't work."
No, come on. It's all snake oil.
Oh, it is.
Absolutely.
It is.
Like I said, most of the stuff you can buy at Walmart off the shelf or at the drug. I don't know if you guys have drug marts where you are, but we have them here. Basically, it's like a Walgreens or whatever. I don't know what a drugstore is in California, but
GNC.
Okay, yeah, something like somewhere like that.
He's $27 for curry flavored cashews, by the way.
Oh God!
You can get a can of Planters for $6.
That's
Just
true,
saying.
you can.
So what makes his special, I guess, is my question.
It's curry flavored and approved by Tom Brady.
Okay.
Right?
So you buy a can of Planters, get yourself a little thing of curry, dump it in there, mix it up real good, and you've saved yourself, what, $20? I'm just saying. Don't buy this stuff, folks. Don't do it. I know even your Patriots fans that, will buy anything this idiot sells you. Don't do it.
Tommy said so.
Look, $10 will get you a bottle of pliability lotion.
Pliability lotion?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm just gonna post. I'm just gonna leave that for you guys. And
lotion that helps you stretch. What?
Tom Brady has old man skin. He needs the extra lubricant.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
Of course.
Wow. Pliability lotion.
Yeah.
Should be called like liability lotion, as in you're going to get fucking sued if you don't knock this shit off. Wow.
I don't know what to make of that.
I do. It's snake oil, like you said. It's just a bunch of nonsense. I have not seen one thing on here. So I don't know what pliability lotion is, and I'm pretty sure Focus is probably illegal. But other than that, I haven't seen a thing here you can't just buy off the shelf at any store you walk into. Publix, Wegmans, I don't care. You know,
you buy the Focus pills, and it comes with a little warning: not approved by the FDA.
Right. Don't travel with this. Not approved by the FDA. Don't try to get it through TSA at the airport. Do not sell this. It's a felony.
Oh God! For $30, you can buy a TB12 method trucker hat.
Oh, no, now we're talking.
I mean, is like the sweatband infused with lotion?
Pliability lotion, so it slides on your head easier, sure.
Is it a special UV reflecting brim?
To keep the harmful sun's rays.
Does it keep you hydrated?
It also has goggles to protect you from the wayward strawberry, too.
No. I was gonna say it probably comes with like a special grate that you can put your food through at restaurants to like keep the strawberries out.
Well, wait, if it's a hat, and the hats are supposed to keep suns out of your eyes, and if you keep the sun out of your eyes, then you're not going to get sunburned. Does it have a water bottle attachment to keep me hydrated so I don't get sunburned?
It should. If it doesn't,
it doesn't. Unfortunately,
we should write him right now and tell him he needs to add that to this. If he really wants to be serious about this stuff, he's got to do it right.
Is there a sun care bundle that's just like a hat and a water bottle?
100
and some pliability lotion to apply to your burn afterwards.
Oh my God.
Thomas.
See, but when you win 6 Super Bowl rings, you get delusions of grandeur and you do stuff like this. Simple as that.
Anyway.
Yeah.
That's all the NFL games. The only other football stuff that I want to bring up. College football playoff rankings come out tomorrow. First ones of the season. And
we have the latest game of the century this Saturday, LSU and Alabama, which should be fun.
Right, of course, with President Trump in attendance to receive his.
I'm not so concerned about that.
Praise. If they boo him, does he just never go out in public again?
You would think that would be his crowd, but I bet you it's half and half. Probably, because there's a lot of Republicans.
See, here's the thing. Here's the problem. On one hand, it's like the deep South, so he's got that going on. On the other hand, a good portion of that crowd is going to be university students,
right?
So that's.
I mean, there's a lot of idiots down there, but they're not all idiots. To be completely honest about it.
Is there a fight in the stands after he gets shown on TV?
Oh God, yes.
Yeah.
One. We'd be lucky if it's only one. I'm thinking like 40 or 50.
Zach, you know the answer to that question. You saw the after credit sequence for Vice.
Yes, I did.
But the new Fast and the Furious does look lit, so there's that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the other thing that I think is kind of neat, I almost think they should do this either once a year or all the time. So ESPN is all in on this 150th anniversary of college football, and the official 150th anniversary is this Wednesday, November 6th. So all the players in tonight's Monday Night Football game, because ESPN is doing it, they're all wearing decals on the back of their helmet with which school they went to.
Oh, that's kind of cool. I like that. Yeah, that's a neat idea. Yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to look at the back of a helmet here to catch one.
Yeah,
there's Georgia. There's Georgia.
I saw Ole Miss on the back of Eli's helmet. And,
let's see.
Ohio State on the back of Zeke's helmet.
Go Bucks. Who are going to be ranked? I wonder what they're going to. Okay, real quick. What do you think? What do you think the playoff rankings come out tomorrow at 9:00?
Yeah.
What do you think? I think LSU probably gets number one.
I gotta think that they are pretty much in line with what the rankings are right now. I think like what I'm curious to see is if there's some teams that like I think we even talked about this where after the top 4, 5, everybody else is kind of overrated. Like, yes, Georgia is 7-1, but they also lost to freaking South Carolina, right?
Yep.
Oregon and Utah are way too high. Oklahoma maybe should be a little higher. Florida at 10, I think, is too high. I just think that once you get past like 7 or 8, probably that's where there's going to be a lot of change. But I think as it stands, maybe they might give some more love to Clemson because of their history, that they would have them higher than 4.
An article I read yesterday said that they are not to consider anything that happened last year or historically when they do these rankings.
Yeah, but
you can't help it.
People.
Right.
Yeah.
If you go off the AP top 25 right now, it's LSU number 1, Alabama 2, Ohio State 3, Clemson 4, Penn State 5, and after that, I'm not even so sure Penn State belongs there, but we'll find out when they play Ohio State. But after that, it's a pretty big drop off. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. At least Notre Dame lost to somebody so they could get knocked down a little bit further, but they were up in the top 10 because their best win was the loss to Georgia.
Georgia, right.
And then they finally dropped a bit.
But yeah, I mean, really, you look at that, and it's Ohio State, the SEC, and Clemson. That's basically what it boils down to. And, we'll get whatever happens this first week will be changed next week because somebody's going to win between Alabama and LSU.
Yeah. What I think will really tell us what's going to happen for the rest of the year is how far they drop LSU or Bama, whoever loses on Saturday. If they drop them to, say it's like a 1-score game, maybe a field goal, something like that, and they only drop them down to maybe they only drop them down to 4 or 5.
I think you have to. I don't think you can drop them. I mean, you can't put Alabama or LSU below Penn State, can you?
Not unless it's not unless there's a big blowout.
Right. Like if LSU wins 38-10, then yeah, you probably knock Alabama out. But I mean, if it's like say a 24-17 game or something like that, I don't see either one of them dropping out. I mean, I just don't see it happening.
I mean, maybe you put them behind Penn State just because they wouldn't be undefeated at that point.
Right.
But, my fear is that because of how the rankings look right now, is that we get into another situation where it's double SEC. And, I don't want to deal with that nonsense again.
Oh, come on. Embrace it.
But I anything that screws Penn State, I'm fine with. I'm serious. I don't care. I mean, if they went 12-0 and missed the playoff, I'd just laugh because, talk about not deserving nice things for a while. I think we're still there with them.
Indeed.
But anyway, it'll be interesting to see how it turns out. I think that probably we're looking at what it's going to be right now with the AP Top 25.
I agree.
And after, like you said, Zach, after that, I don't, it could really be mixed up down towards the middle because you got Minnesota sitting there at 8-0, but nobody believes in them. You got Baylor sitting there at 8-0, but nobody is buying them. Who was the other one? There's another.
I didn't even notice Minnesota's record. Man, if there's a team that makes everybody go, what? It might be Baylor or Minnesota.
Right.
Because they're the undefeateds. They're in power conferences. This isn't like a UCF Boise State situation. This is a real teams sort of conversation. And I'm sure that would make people nuts, but I would also hope people know that, there's no way Minnesota's beating Ohio State or Penn State if they play them. And there's no way that Baylor is surviving against Oklahoma or Texas.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just going to be interesting. I know the other team was SMU, but they lost, so they were undefeated, and they're where are they going to end up? But
yeah, SMU dropped 8 spots in the AP, so they're down to 23.
Yeah, because they lost to Memphis, right? Yeah. So it's going to be all mixed up, but I think that the top 4 that we're looking at right now, in some variation or another, that's what you're going to get tomorrow night.
Yeah, because even if you look over the coaches poll, there's some teams that are maybe 1 spot off, but it's the same.
Right, same 4 teams.
So
Yep.
I think everybody's in agreement right now as what's what.
Yeah,
so.
I agree totally. So,
and that's unfortunately probably the way it'll end up. When we get it at the end of November,
barring some major upsets along the way. Yeah, it will.
Like I really wouldn't be surprised if we get Bama LSU again, and that will suck. Will suck. I really think that's bad.
I like it once a year. I think it's great when they're both undefeated like this, and like the 1 and 2 teams in the country. That's awesome. I don't need to see it again after this. Yeah.
In a 14 field, we shouldn't have that.
No.
If it was 8 teams, like we've discussed many a time, okay.
Yeah.
But not like this.
No.
Win your conference.
All right, guys. On that note, we're going to call it a night. As always, follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports. Subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, and YouTube. And with that, thanks for listening. We will see you next time.
Later.
The second half of tonight's telecast has been brought to you by Imperial Oil Limited and Esso dealers, agents, and distributors serving your community. Tune in again next week